physically alive is paramount. Next thing is your mental situation, because staying alive should not become a torturous process. Right now it is becoming like that, and the number of suicides are increasing. WHO is talking about suicide pandemic may unfold. So that is really… if the virus didn't get you, you're doing it to yourself. That is a terrible thing to happen in the world. But unfortunately, humanity is moving in that way. What is it that human beings suffer if you look at this? One thing is, if physically we get sick, physical suffering will happen. But that is a small percentage. The real suffering is mental suffering. Mental suffering essentially means you suffer your own intelligence. If you had the brain of an earthworm, because you brought the earthworm in, if you had the brain of an earthworm, you would be quite peaceful. Now there is a cerebral possibility in you which is not comparable to any other creature on this planet, another level of cerebral activity. This is the greatest boon we have, this is what sets us up as human beings. But this is what most human beings suffer, because they are not able to handle their own cerebral capabilities. If they had half the brain that they have, they would be quite peaceful. With a full brain, they're struggling. But you tell me, because you are in the processor which is in a way trying to manufacture intelligence, all right, in some way. Intelligence essentially means right now for people, this is not my definition, but in people's experience, a certain amount of memory and an imaginative way of using that memory is considered intelligence by most people, which is what the artificial intelligence is also going in that direction. Your entire computing system is going in that direction. There is a data, imaginative use of that data is intelligence. That's what people understand as intelligence. No, that is just intellectual process. There are other dimensions of intelligence which does not depend upon data, that's a different matter, we will look at that if there is time. So for this, the simplest thing is, you have only two kinds of suffering, physical suffering, mental suffering. There is no other form of suffering. There is a simple process. Once again, millions and millions of people across the world are doing this. This is called as Isha Kriya. A simple process with which you bring a little bit of space between you and your body, little bit of space between you and your mind. What does little bit of space mean? See, right now, this clothing, this is loose. So always I'm conscious that this is my clothing. Suppose I was wearing skin-tight nylon clothing. After some time, I wouldn't know which is my skin, which is my clothing. It is so. If it's something doesn't leave any space, you think you are that after some time. So, right now what you call as my body is an accumulation which you gathered over a period of time. What you call as my mind is also accumulation of impressions that you gathered over a period of time. If you create a little bit of space between you and your body, between you and your mind, this is the end of suffering. Only when there is no fear of suffering will a human being walk full stride. Whether pandemic or no pandemic, this is something that everybody must do, that you have no fear of suffering because your life is a limited amount of time. Only miserable people think it's very long. If you're joyful and well, even if you live for 100 years, it's too little. One who is… see, on a particular day, if you're very happy, you notice 24 hours pass off like a moment. If you're miserable, 24 hours feels like a eon, all right? So, time is a very relative experience. If you keep yourself well, 100 years is just nothing, it'll just get over like a few days in your life. So, this is very important that one is free from the fear of suffering, because only then you can walk full stride, otherwise entire life will be half steps.